is often on my mind is how we can lift and shift and change our vibration and move from what might be a more negative or a more struggling state into a more positive one. I had to stop the work that I was doing then in television, and to go and to stop work, you know, and just kind of concentrate on my inner journey and recovering from ME and chronic fatigue syndrome. And using meditation, energy healing, and voice activation and voice work, I managed to completely shift my energy and heal from the chronic fatigue syndrome. What I offer and what I draw on is kind of some aspects of traditional voice coaching to kind of strengthen and empower and develop the skill and tone of the voice. So I work in that way as well. But I work primarily in a framework of exploring the relationship with the voice and the internal relationship that we have with our voice. It comes back down to that psychology really, and that coaching around how do we feel about our voice, how do we express. Given my spiritual experience and my spiritual framework, I also support people to get in touch with their own guidance and their own spiritual connection, because for me that enables a stronger, more powerful voice when we have basically embraces all voices and affirms that everybody has the ability to sing, even though we may not feel that we can. And what I do find is that often, you know, when we have those experiences of cringing when we hear a recording, a lot of it comes from some of the things I've kind of talked on already. Some of it comes from an experience of a disconnection or an alienation from the self. That transformation and that lifting of our vibration into a higher, clearer, more powerful space where we can really create, you know, collective change and collective healing. And you know, I'm running a retreat in August, and the title of it is Empowering Voice Healing Retreat. Just to breathe in a little bit of space, and just because we've talked about quite a lot, it's all quite powerful, intense stuff. Ascension is the evolution, the spiritual evolution that the earth is shifting through, and that we are all shifting through as a collective, from a lower, a more limited vibrational reality to a more expansive love vibration, which is higher vibration and a higher frequency. And you know, there's more interconnectedness between all of us as a collective of humans, but also between the other species on the earth and other galactic species as well are connecting with us.
And then we have one for Bryony. Bryony created a beautiful, safe and sacred energy space. Bryony created a beautiful, safe and energy space. Her singing was so deeply touching and lifted me up into the new, blessed, golden light space. My worries and hurt feelings from past experiences left my body and soul, and I drifted into a deep, calm space full of love and light. Bryony's workshops are a true blessing. I highly recommend her workshops. So that's a powerful statement.
Yeah, that's Corinne, yeah. So what she's talking about there is ultimately an ascension experience. May everyone who hears this podcast, this sharing, receive healing and blessing.
Hello and welcome to the Divine Love Ambassador podcast with your host, Mary Jo Halligan. Today, I have another fabulous conversation coming up for you with the Empower Your Voice coach and lots more that we're going to unpack today. So welcome, Bryony.
Yes, hello, Mary Jo. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Yay, delighted to have you. And I'm really excited for unpacking this conversation with you. and yeah, learning more about you and what you offer and what you are offering people at this time, and also really to unpack the power of our voice and the impact of sound in terms of healing and vibration. I'm sure we'll get into that. But before we do, what I want to ask you, we started just before I put on the recording, but I asked you to pause. What is most on your heart right now? What's most exciting for you that just lights you up and you just love to talk about, share about, care about, tell others about?
Yay. Well, the thing that is often on my mind is how we can lift and shift and change our vibration and move from what might be a more negative or a more struggling state into a more positive one. And I actually watched your video of you dancing this morning, and I totally loved that. And I thought, yes, it cheered me up as well to see that. I was having a bit of had some difficult emotions coming up, processing some things, and I did some sounding practices, some voice practices. I went for a walk out into nature, good thing to lift my energy. And then I did some sounding practices with my voice, which really shifted my energy a lot. And, I just love to share with people and to experience in my own life that amazing shift where we might be feeling a bit down or a bit overwhelmed by life, and then just to create more spaciousness and more positive energy. That's what I always love.
Yeah, beautiful. Wonderful. Well, do you know what I would love to do actually is a little
What's
something that
that?
I found on your website. I'd like to read it out. Your soul is in the water of my love, immersed totally. It shall be so for all, as the quickening occurs in each. These words came to me in 1999. I love 1999.
999, yeah.
Yeah, as part of a massive outpouring of healing guidance during a number of months when I experienced a profound and constant awareness of the divine harmony between all of life. This was the opening out of an awareness of a pure divine presence and interconnection, which has never left me and which now informs my work as a voice coach, energy healer, sound healer, singer, and writer. Originally from the Celtic lands of Albion, I now live and work in person in Wellington in New Zealand. So that's a little write up, a little section of your website. Can you tell me a little bit more about the context of where this writing came from?
Yeah, oh, that's lovely to hear. Yeah, so basically, what I'm sharing there and what really is essential in my whole worldview and my experience of life and my work is that spiritual awareness and the spiritual connection, which is very much focused in my personal experience of divine love, that really opened up at that time when I was living at the Findhorn Foundation in Scotland.
Mhm.
And I was living there for a couple of years, and it was all around the time of the millennium. And there was just this huge energy upgrade that was happening for so many of us. And I started receiving lots and lots and lots of information and guidance, and my kind of healing abilities were developing, and I was being guided to go to see people to give them healing and things. So there was a lot happening for me, and it was a very kind of intense time, and all these things kind of have formed the foundation really of where I am now, 20 years later.
Wow, wow. So when did you have your awakening? Was it
It was
much?
then really in
Yeah.
1990. Well, it was things started to shift for me when I got ME and chronic fatigue syndrome, which was in 1997, 97, 98. And I had to stop the work that I was doing then in television, and to go and to stop work, and just kind of concentrate on my inner journey and recovering from ME and chronic fatigue syndrome. And using meditation, energy healing, and voice activation and voice work, I managed to completely shift my energy and heal from the chronic fatigue syndrome within, you know, to make a radical recovery within a few months, and then to completely recover within a couple of years. So that was kind of the start of my journey, and that was like in 1997. And at that time, I started to receive little bits of audible guidance. But when I was guided to move to live in Findhorn in Scotland, the spiritual community there, things really opened up in a big way. And just as it says on my website, I had this really beautiful experience of deep peace and harmony of life, because, you know, Findhorn is a place which has a very strong vibration there, because there's a lot of people who've gathered there for spiritual purposes and for meditation and for all kinds of energy healing and for the energy of divine love, you know, the energy of transformation that grows from love. And so being in that really kind of heightened environment really causes a catalyst for a lot of people, and it did for me.
Beautiful. And how long did you end up living there?
Only for a couple of years, because it became quite difficult to be there after a while. There were a lot of kind of political things happening, and I needed to be back with my family for a while to spend some time with them and look after my mom and dad. And
yeah, I think life is a bit like that, though, isn't it? There's a bit of a ebb and flow to things, you know, vibrationally.
sure, yeah,
I have a feeling that the integration was probably going back and being with your family and how you integrated
yeah,
that higher vibration that you
absolutely.
acclimated.
Absolutely. And you know, that energy of integration has been a real kind of stepped process for me, actually, over the years, because I've kind of gone through definite waves of ebb and flow of, you know, the energy coming in big waves again in a new way, and then integrating it and learning new things. And it's definitely been that journey.
Yeah. So actually, before I move forward, let's go back a little bit more. So you talked about being on TV. So who were you before Findhorn? And what kind of led up? Like I'm sure you have a lot of awareness now. What led up to creating the chronic fatigue and the ME
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of got you into that situation, or that, you know, manifestation through your body? So then then it's like being the healed healer. Like you have to you learn then through healing yourself the profundity of whatever your medicine was, and then you give that medicine to others. So if you want to tell us a little bit more about that background or that back
yeah.
journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was living in London at the time, and I was working in television research and working with different documentaries, working in a very stressed environment. And the understanding that I came to as I experienced the chronic fatigue was, and as I started to receive the spiritual guidance and to meditate and to really started to kind of come back into myself, was that chronic fatigue syndrome was for me, and is for many people, an expression of a spiritual disconnection. So I was, you know, I was living, so I was, even in my 20s, I even smoked cigarettes, which, you know, is kind of just so far away from what I could do now. I can't imagine how I actually did that. But, you know, I didn't use my voice in any kind of positive or therapeutic way. I think I didn't have a very strong self-esteem. And I think I was very much a people pleaser and trying to work in this television environment, in Channel 4 and in independent companies doing different projects. and I had different relationship issues going on that were challenging. And, I basically just ground to a halt. And yeah, definitely life brought me that situation for what it would lead to. But definitely for me, the understanding was that I was disconnected from my spirit in the way of life that I was living.
Mm.
And the practices of meditation primarily, but also energy healing and voice practices were really fundamental in my recovery, and I see them as the transformative practices for me, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you just see a course, or what pointed you in that direction? How did you discover the power of sound? Was it the Reiki first? Was it the sound? How did you open up? Because that's the thing. Like, if the self-consciousness and that disconnection from spirit is usually that we formed, the egoic personality, and we're living from that more limited consciousness and taking on the weight of the world and not letting spirit in, right? That don't realize there's a greater connection. So it's that's over responsibility, overburdened,
For sure. Yeah.
which of course burdens the nervous system, which is all about communication and
Tremendous.
energy connections. So then what, to open up the voice it's a huge thing, because the self-consciousness, and I mean, I know that's the journey. Do you want to speak a little bit more, like did it, yeah, how did it come into view for you that that was the way to go?
Hmm. Well, I was just lucky that, and guided, very strongly guided, though not fully aware that I was being guided at that stage. But it all came together for me. So, I was receiving the Reiki healing, the energy healing, and I very soon after receiving energy healing regularly, so I received energy healing weekly. The meditation I was working really hard on and developing my practice with my meditation. And at the same time, I happened to start seeing singing things everywhere and start going to different practices to explore singing after having not done it at all in the years before. I mean, I sang as a child. I used to walk around the garden pushing a little trolley, singing to the fairies, and singing to the nature spirits. And so I was in that space as a child, but as a teenager and in my 20s, I didn't use my voice at all. And yeah, there was definitely that self-consciousness. So it's beautiful now that I support other women primarily to come through that journey and to step into the power of the voice.
So what is an empowerment voice coach?
What is a voice empowerment coach?
Or
Yes. Well, so there's different practices and different approaches to this modality and this way of working. What I offer and what I draw on is kind of some aspects of traditional voice coaching to kind of strengthen and empower and develop the skill and tone of the voice. So I work in that way as well. But I work primarily in a framework of exploring the relationship with the voice and the internal relationship that we have with our voice. It comes back down to that psychology, really, and that coaching around how do we feel about our voice, how do we express, but I'm also a writer and a singer, and so I work as a creative coach as well in my voice empowerment coaching. I work supporting people to express themselves creatively through the voice primarily, but it leads to other forms as well. And given my spiritual experience and my spiritual framework, I also support people to get in touch with their own guidance and their own spiritual connection, because for me that enables a stronger, more powerful voice when we have that.
What do you find is the biggest challenge that comes up against the voice? Like, as in, I know for myself to develop my voice, even in latter years, to allow more spontaneous, intuitive sounding to come through.
Beautiful, yeah.
I call it the soul language or light language, but it really took so long to let go of the control, of the strangeness. But actually, maybe I'll take it back even a little bit further, because I remember a time where just even listening to my own voice, it would make me cringe.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever had that. I remember when I
Yeah.
was on a recorded teleseminar and I'd listen over and it'd be like, oh, my own voice. It'd nearly be shocking because we're not used to listening to our own voice. So, yeah, any insights for somebody who's like, they're really self-conscious, being on camera? I mean, that's a whole other thing. But even just listening to their own voice, or they believe they can sing, like, yeah, give us a little bit more insight to that insight and awareness that you have working with those kind of people, and what you actually have to say to people to
Yeah.
maybe demystify some of this.
Yeah. So the tradition that I came to in terms of um, voice practice and voice and singing is the Natural Voice Network, which basically embraces all voices and affirms that everybody has the ability to sing, even though we may not feel that we can. And what I do find is that often, when we have those experiences of cringing when we hear a recording, a lot of it comes from some of the things I've kind of talked on already. Some of it comes from an experience of a disconnection or an alienation from the self, which can be an important thing. Some of the practices that I teach are designed to give you a very embodied experience of your voice. So we use vibratory tools I support people in the kind of explorations and light language and chanting in unstructured ways that you're talking about. And that freedom of exploration is really the fundamental step that opens everything up, that exploration. But some of the practices that we ground that in on the journey towards that point are embodiment practices with the voice. So they give you and we combine that with a practice of real mindfulness and real kind of conscious awareness of what are the sensations I'm feeling as I make this sound.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives you an opportunity to reclaim your voice or to re-embrace it in a new way. And
It's really like a technology, like
it is
the
actually,
sound technology, and the body is this instrument, and the sensations is the vibratory feedback of how the
absolutely,
sound moves through the body. And it's like a language. That's what I've discovered. It's like familiarizing ourselves with the language, or as you said, the disconnect, because we become unfamiliar with that authentic
yeah,
self and that authentic self-expression. So it's like re-familiarizing ourselves with this technology of the self, even though it's not, you know what I mean, but the familiarity, and so that it's not so foreign, as strange as that might sound, and that that it becomes friendly and it becomes safe and it becomes valuable biofeedback.
absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
it's
well,
huge.
that's a really good point. That's a really good um, aspect of this. Like for example, I teach these chakra sounds using the voice, and they give really good information about the state of our energy body. Doing these practices in a conscious way with an awareness. And what you say is really important and really true. And I love the language that you're using to describe this. It really resonates with where I'm coming from with it. And, you know, when you asked me right at the beginning of when we started talking, what is the thing that I'm most passionate about, what's on my heart, you know, this is what really, this is what I spoke to. This is that transformation and that lifting of our vibration into a higher, clearer, more powerful space where we can really create, you know, collective change and collective healing. And you know, I'm running a retreat in August, and the title of it is Empowering Voice Healing Retreat. And I love that because, you know, what I've gathered with the women who are coming to share in this space is women who are wanting to step into these practices that I teach, but within a healing and a nurturing framework. And, you know, that aspect of reclaiming our voice is really central. I think it is fundamentally self-empowerment through a healing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the other aspect of us as well is that, yeah, the empowerment is that when you access your own voice, or you talked about the dance, and access your own movement of body, and to free up the voice, to free up the body, allowing the energy vibrations of sound and movement to move on through, to be able to move like through the voice and through movement, that stuck energy, and that uncomfortable, you know, that energy that may carry a bit of shame or judgment or self-criticism or whatever, and that's why often it gets pushed back down. But that encouragement is it's like the permission slip to, and then learn how to work with it as well.
Absolutely,
And to
yeah.
befriend those different qualities, if you like, or vibrations. And the empowerment part is that you have a, like we all have it within us. Like, it's not external, it's actually within us, within our own voice, within our own bodies. And there's just, you know, so no matter what's going on around us, we always have access to those healing tools, or reharmonization tools, once we kind of re-access them again, or refamiliarize ourselves with them. So that's what I get from what you're sharing, is you're sharing these incredible ways and invitations and tools and technology, if you like, for people to reacquaint themselves with the empowerment of their voice, with access and the freedom of their voice in a safe space through your healing retreat, so that the energy is set up in a way that is integral and honorable, and you've got your own background and journey, so that always holds a presence within the room and sets the tone, pardon the pun, sets the tone for the retreat. So yeah, so I mean, this excites me, you know, and anything that empowers our humanity and empowers, you know, each of us in these moments, because I feel like it really is just what, you know, what's required so much is, you know, and if I could scream it from the rooftops, you know, and I'm sure you as well, it'd be like, it's all inside you.
It's all inside you. Yeah, it's all inside you. I love that. There'll be some dogs barking now in the background.
No worries. It's all it's with the dogs and the animals too, in the nature.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all inside us. And this leads me just to mention another project that I'm working on at the moment, the title of which is totally related to this. The title is Empower and Connect, Embrace the Wisdom Within. And basically it's me working with 4 other coaches to support women in strengthening and developing these skills we have inside us, like emotional intelligence, intuition, qigong and energy awareness. So these different practices, we're going to have a week each, and it's going to be a 5-week course, and it's going to be just like you described there, another safe space for women to, you know, really develop that connection with what is within us. What is within us, and it's all within us.
And
And we, you know,
I'll add the links in.
yeah,
For
that'd
people
be
to be able
great.
to find all that.
Because, you know, the fact is that culture doesn't support us in this generally. You know, we have to find our own culture, we find our own tribe, we find our own contexts that are safe and supportive.
Yeah. But you know, it's a bit like your own journey, you know, the chronic fatigue, the ME, the work, the stressful situation, you know, you had to get to a place within your own life. Like all of us has a story of where you went, okay, this isn't working for me, you know, and then you were ready, or you know, life helped you along, whatever the story is. But you know, ill health is a great way. You know, there's many ways that people can be challenged, but ultimately it's just getting to a place of readiness to look in a new direction, to be open, to take yourself off and do these trainings, or take yourself off to Findhorn, you know, do something different than that may not be so enticing or comfortable once upon a time, if everything was rosy in your garden. So it's like the uncomfortableness of whether the illness or financial issues, or people, it may be you know, grief, or you know, disenchantment, what's
Relationship.
going on in the
Yeah.
world, relationship, you know, that is challenging as all that is that's going on in the world. It's also a pointer that's also bringing people to go, okay, this really isn't working for me. Am I done with watching this crap on TV? And I hear it from more and more people. I have done for the last few years in New Zealand. You know, more and more people are going, oh no, I just turn off the TV because I realized I was getting depressed or hopeless or angry, and it just, you know, that wasn't a way to live, you know. So it's amazing how people are wising up as well. And then that opens up the spaciousness, you know, to look at new avenues of possibility and community. So I love what you're doing is creating that avenue and showing a different way and giving people that opportunity, and then to be able to do it in community. And I'm really feeling that in 2024 and these following years, that so many of us are really called into these kind of collaborations, and that's what me doing the podcast and the
Yeah,
conversations, because it's like, okay, you recognize that what's being handed to you on the plate, so to speak, isn't really working for you. So now it's like, you know, it's like our inner being is like, okay, what you going to do with it? You know what you don't want, you know what's not working, you know what's making you stressful. So now what are you going to, what are you going to do, or how, you know, what are you going to create together? You know,
yeah,
and if we can step back a little bit, it can be quite a joyous occasion, you know.
absolutely.
And if
Yeah.
we're and if we can step back, then it can seem overwhelming and stressful and
Mm.
traumatic even. So do you want to speak a little bit more to that, of what you see going on in the world, and just any other words of wisdom, and maybe even, like, say somebody hears your retreat about accessing their wisdom, like people might go, I wouldn't even know where to start with my wisdom. I'm just dealing
Mm.
with the possibility that my job's going to end, or they've been told to move out of their flat, or yeah, relationship breakdown, or they're worried about their children. And you know, and you're talking about accessing your wisdom, like, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. What would you have to say to those people, those women?
Yeah.
Women and men, but especially women.
Women and men. Yeah, thank you for that question. Can I just sound my singing bowl?
Please.
Just yeah, before just to sound this, just to breathe in a little bit of space, and just because we've talked about quite a lot, it's quite powerful, intense stuff. There's a really beautiful. So to respond to what you said, to what you just said, then I just want to just say that is my answer, really. I guess the sound and the space that opens, and you know, in all the offerings that I make, all my, you know, I do in-person events as well, like the retreat and the workshops I do, and the song. I do these song and sound ceremonies every 5 6 weeks, in person and online. And you know, in all these offerings that I make and this group space you're talking about, particularly the access the wisdom within, they are making space for you. They are making space for you to feel safe, to feel held, and to learn something that's going to support you. And it's like you say, for sure, we definitely need to step back and get a perspective on our life when things are really difficult, and when things are, when we're struggling and overwhelmed, and you know, it's difficult. So I guess what I offer in these different formats is a space to come away, to just to have a moment and to gain something that will help you, to navigate those things in a different way, to
Beautiful.
navigate them in a more successful way, to create something different. Because you know what I mean, you know, I have testimonials on my website and Google and Facebook and stuff, but you know, some of the people who have worked with me around the voice have seen amazing changes happening in their lives, you know, great shift about, being able to free up that energy that we free up with the voice, with the dancing, with those things. It makes things happen a lot more easily, a lot more smoothly, and a lot more positively. Like I was just thinking of one of my clients who worked with me one to one, called Jen, and she ended up, drawing to her all these speaking opportunities, which helped her to create something whole new thing in her business and her life. So lots of things are possible, but yeah, I think it's all about space and coming into a different space to gain tools that you take back to your life.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that you went to the bowl and the sound, and which immediately creates that space. So beautifully, well done. Nicely done, nicely done. Perfect, perfect example. And you know, it's so simple. It's so simple in a way, because the antidote is really creating that space. And as you also
Yeah.
said, it can be so challenging for somebody to, in the midst, when the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system is in fight, flight, or freeze, and go, 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 to make that decision. You know, often again, that's why something
Mm,
has to give in order to
mm,
go, right. This can't go on. I have to make a new decision. I have to either leave the job, or, you know, book a retreat, or, you know, I can't keep going on. I'm either going to make myself really, really sick, and then I can't go to work, or, you know, something has to give somewhere. So that realization, in order to even make that decision. Because I used to run a retreat. I don't know if you're aware, in Hamner Springs for 9 years.
ah, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a beautiful retreat center, so people would come into that space, and that was exactly what it was. They were being nurtured, whether it was through yoga, detox, healing retreats. I did quantum hypnosis. Even sometimes, you know, the greatest medicine that people needed coming in the door, number one, was a good night's sleep.
Good
That
night's
was it.
sleep. Yeah.
Second was a space where they didn't feel judged, and that they could just realize they could really just be themselves. They didn't have to put on a certain personality, or, you know, live up to any expectation. So it might take 24 hours for people to really relax into it. And then with the yoga and the breath, that's the first way to create space, whether it's sounding or yoga, whatever, the focus is on the breath. So sometimes people will be so filled up and with overwhelm and anxiety and pressure and worry or whatever, that I wouldn't even give them a form to fill out, because
No.
that's how much they needed to decompress and open up a bit of space. You know, because
Mm,
there's no point trying to add more when people are overwhelmed with too much information and too much stress. So the first thing is to create that bit of space, so that the parasympathetic nervous system can be switched on, that allows the relaxation response, and then allows the flow, allows the grounding, and then you can, a person can take in more information, about what it's all about. But it is the experiential, and often that's the tricky thing with the mental mind, isn't it? Because the mental mind can talk us out of anything, and that's why
Yeah.
often there has to be a circumstance or a life event to kind of go, okay, I'm switching you off, and I'm just booking the retreat, or I'm just booking the coaching session, or whatever it is, or I'm not going to listen to the fact that I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, because these are all the reasons that we put in our
Yeah.
way, or not now, or after that. There's so many tricks of the ego mind, to avoid change and to avoid slowing down. Again, that's why often challenges have to happen to open up that space, or open up that
Mm.
willingness to open up into something else, and to, book something, because it could be quite intimidating for somebody initially to go off on a retreat, whether it was coming to my retreat in Hamner Springs over the years, or heading off onto something with you, because that
Mm.
intimidation can be, who am I to invest this money or this time, or take time away from the family? And yet, of course, and I definitely would love for you to respond, but I know myself, a lot of the time with educating women, especially, as well, is a big passion of mine, that taking that time away for themselves and caring for themselves, empowering themselves, that they're going to go back to their family with a much better version of themselves, more
Totally.
grounded, more peaceful, more patient, more creative, more present. So do you want to speak a little bit into that, of the true value
Yeah.
of investing in taking oneself even to a new environment, but to open up into these new modalities, if you like, to empower oneself with?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you've said there. I love it. I think it's so important. It is the benefits you gain are always, everyone speaks about this at the end of a retreat. They always say, I have received so much more than I thought I was going to. This has given me so much other than I thought I was. It's always
It's a bit,
so
it's so difficult to put that in the marketing material. Yeah, because it's an experience, right?
it's an experience. And the place where I'm holding my retreat in August, and then I'm doing another one in December as well for the summer solstice, a 4-day one. But the place is like, yeah, you go away into this lovely location with the trees. So yes, it's coming away from home to a beautiful location, beautiful space. And yeah, trying these new practices can be something that women are a bit nervous about. And always when women want to book, we always have the option of having a Zoom conversation, a chat to
Sorry,
talk
can
about
I just interrupt you for that? Do you take men at all, or is it just women?
this retreat in August is for women,
Yeah, okay.
which I chose specially because I wanted it to feel safe for on a different level. The one in December is mixed.
Okay.
Um,
And
yeah,
you do one-on-one with men and women?
yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
voice empowerment?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
and I do mostly work with women, and I do some specific containers that are just for women, but I'm very keen to support men as well. And I do lots of work. I have a lot of male clients who come for sound healing and Reiki, and the because I do a lovely one-to-one session which is sound healing and Reiki together, and I do that online and in distance as well as in person.
So do you want to speak maybe a little bit to that then, of how does it work distantly as compared to
Oh
in
yeah,
person?
well, it makes a lot of sense when you realize that ultimately, Reiki healing is energy healing. It's working with energy, And in the same way that you are sitting there and I am sitting here and we are communicating, in the same way we can communicate in a very detailed way with energy. And when I work with people one to one for healing sessions through distance, what happens is they lie down on a bed, and we are often connected through Zoom, and then I work on their body as if I was next to them, but I'm working here, and they can feel me working in different parts of their body. So, anything is possible with energy. And when we do advanced Reiki training, we learn various techniques that collapse time and distance and strengthen the energetic connection that we all have ultimately. All the great spiritual teachers speak about the fact that we are interconnected, we are all one. Ultimately, in the energy of the heart and in the energy of the source and the spirit, we are ultimately all connected. And the energy healing done distantly draws on that. And I've had some extraordinary results through distance healing, which have, as well as healing physical symptoms like ankles or wrists or migraines, then they also have impacted people's lives, these healing sessions. So they've impacted relationships. Often I've had mother and child come to me on a number of occasions to look at difficult child relationships, difficult relationships between parent and child. And there've been past life experiences there that were playing out in this life. And through the energy healing that I do in a distance format, that has cleared that energy.
So do you actually tap into past lives, or you're just
Yeah.
right? So you're helping. Yeah. So have you? Is that something that spontaneously happened for you, or is that something you trained in, or
Yeah,
yeah?
it's what started to open up for me when I was living at Findhorn.
Ah.
And I was basically, through that period, I went through massive kind of spiritual learning in my sleep state and in my meditation state, where guides would come to me and give me lots of training.
Mhm.
And also I did so I trained first of all with the National Federation of Spiritual Healers in London, and then I did Reiki Masters training after that as well.
So had you been interested in healing and energy work when you were working in the TV, or was it a completely
Yeah, I think
180?
I was interested, but not actively interested at all.
Like, would you have
So
gone for a Reiki session, for example, when you worked at the TV
don't
station?
think so. I
No.
don't think so. What a great question. I love it. That is so funny. I mean, gosh, that's really funny. I do have a friend. I have a good friend she's in England, and we were on the phone just last night. She and I have known each other for 35 years. So I'm just trying to work out if how that fit. I mean, I kind of got to know her around the time of my spiritual awakening, but sort of around that time. So she I don't think she knew me before then. But it's good to think about that, isn't it? It's like, we've been through so many iterations of ourselves, and our life journey has shown many places.
So, for somebody who is just starting out on this journey and getting curious, what wisdom do you have to share with them? And if you can weave in maybe a little bit more verbiage around what that shift really is. So we call it words like awakening or shift of consciousness, but like back in 1999, you had this realization of this divine presence, interconnectedness. So people
Mm,
who may be going through a lot right now, and as you
yeah.
mentioned as well, or we touched on how those integration points, and it can be challenging, until you integrate.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And yeah, the number, it's kind of like the guidance that, I mean, the bit you read off my website at the beginning of that was guidance that came to me. And it does say, the quickening will occur in each. Everyone will experience this awakening process in the time that's right for us. So I think, ultimately, I know it can be really overwhelming and really challenging. The thing to do is to search out support and to search out uh, tools that can help you. That's what I suggest most importantly. Meditation, voice practices that are ultimately about trusting ourselves and coming back to ourselves are really essential, important, helpful tools in the ascension process that we're all going through. And we're all at different stages and we're all there to support each other in different ways. And yes, I think that thing of trusting ourselves and coming back to ourselves is the thing I want to help people with in all the different ways that I can. And I think it also is the thing to remember, because I know that at this time in the Earth's history, a lot of new information is constantly coming in to the planet, and a lot of us are remembering. So the experience that I had in Findhorn, which I have had on and off since then, that experience, in Findhorn I had it for a number of months of this very deep, profound connection and joyful harmony sense. So that awareness of connection and awareness of the heart center that we are is happening more and more. And this is a really important time to be alive, a really beautiful time to be alive. And we are, I believe, to celebrate ourselves more and more and to take great tender care of ourselves and of each other at this time. Because I do know you spoke about integration. In my own journey, often the integration process from spiritual opening and spiritual awareness has been tricky, and I've had to learn a lot of tools, and I've had some quite challenging times in that integration process. And
What
so
what what some what some call the dark night of the soul.
yeah, the dark night of the soul. And I feel that it's very important to offer support in as many ways as can be offered to those who are experiencing that dark night of the soul, because it's a tricky experience. And but through that, through the darkness comes the light, and through the loss of as you spoke to before, the loss of what is familiar, we find something new and precious.
Yeah. And there's also the compelling to want to move into that service work to support others just naturally comes from that deeper connection. Like when you do your own healing and you reconnect to that greater divine presence, connection, love, whatever we want to call it, there's a natural inclination to want to turn around and support your human brothers and sisters, and to live in a greater harmony, to be made reaware, or to reawaken, or to re-remember this greater inherent resource within the self, to feel inherently connected and supported by life and loved and cherished. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's like and as you said, it's needed as well because
It is needed, yeah.
but there's also like when you've been through it, it's just naturally whether you've been through an illness or you've been through whatever and you've come through it, you want to shout from the rooftops, and you don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so difficult, or obviously nobody can walk another's path. So all you really can do is just shine the light on the path. And as you do with what you're offering, it's just it's shining a light on the path for others. You can't walk another's path. You can't you can encourage people back into trusting their voice again, and opening up their voice again, and exploring their voice again, and and
Mm.
and touch into parts of the vocal cords even that may, the mind might go, oh my god, am I weird or crazy or strange, or that doesn't make any sense, and then it's getting familiar that, oh, that's okay, that's a sound. Oh, get more curious about the vibration. How does it feel in my body?
That's the question, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to shift? Do you want to, or sorry, do you want to talk a little bit about that shift from the thinking mind to the feeling body, and how
Absolutely.
profound that is in this journey? And also, if you could touch in what is ascension for somebody who might be going, well, what is this ascension everyone's talking about? What does that really
Yeah.
mean?
So I'll start with that and then I'll do the first part of your question. So, ascension is the evolution, the spiritual evolution that the earth is shifting through, and that we are all shifting through as a collective from a lower, a more limited vibrational reality to a more expansive love vibration, which is higher vibration and a higher frequency. And there's more interconnectedness between all of us as a collective of humans, but also between the other species on the earth and other galactic species as well are connecting with us. That's my understanding. And so ascension is ultimately spiritual evolution and spiritual development and spiritual raising of vibration, raising of frequency that is happening between us individually and a collective sense. So that is the most important thing about ascension, actually. It can seem very lonely and very difficult to people when they first start on a spiritual journey. And I know often people come to my world who are new into a spiritual experience or a spiritual understanding, and they're really hungry to find things out and to study Reiki, or to explore voice healing, and to step into a new embodied sense of themselves in lots of different ways. And yeah, for sure, it's lonely and difficult if you don't feel that you can share that with your family and friends in an immediate sense. And so the important thing to remember is that ultimately we are all connected and it affects us all. And it's great to search out like kirtan groups and singing groups and healing groups where you can actually be in a group of people who are all experiencing ascension journeys in a conscious way. So just to go back to the question, the point you raised before about that shift from the thinking mind to the experience, often what I find around the voice is that there's a lot of self-criticism, a lot of self-judgment, and that happens in the thought process and the relationship to the self. And through doing different sounding practices and also movement practices, and when like in the retreat that I'm running in August, we do various qigong and body practices, and we do yin yoga to really ground the voice practices in an experience of the body. So we do various practices that help that connection with the body, but ultimately it's also about kind of loosening the ties of those self-critical thoughts. And I use different practices around that, such as you know, affirmations and doing mirror work with ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing. Do you do
Yeah.
some journaling? Any other
Yeah, we do
creative?
lots of journaling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. So I think what I'll do is I'm just going to read some testimonials from your website.
Oh, thank you.
You've really helped me to grow in the spirit and move toward my true nature. The whole event was wonderful. I feel you've shifted some blocks and put me in touch with parts of myself I'd forgotten, may not even have known before. The whole package was awesome with a great bunch of people. That's from Jules. So that's on the website. And then we have one for Bryony. Bryony created a beautiful, safe, and sacred energy space. Bryony created a beautiful, safe, and energy space. Her singing was so deeply touching and lifted me up into the new, blessed, golden light space. My worries and hurt feelings from past experiences left my body and soul, and I drifted into a deep, calm space full of love and light. Bryony's workshops are a true blessing. I highly recommend her workshops. So that's a powerful
Yeah, yeah,
statement.
that's Corinne. Yeah. So what she's talking about there is ultimately an ascension experience
Mm,
of moving into that lighter, higher vibrational space. And, you know, that is part of what I offer with my work. It's not only a voice practice happening without a context. The context that I work in is ultimately about spiritual growth, spiritual ascension, and well-being, holistic well-being. And yeah, that's a lovely testimonial from Corinne. It's a couple of years old now, but she has been to, she's done another review on my Google, which is different from a more recent thing that she did as well. She
beautiful.
came to a day retreat I offered.
Yeah, beautiful. I'll read one more. I highly recommend Heart Song Healing. Bryony has so much knowledge and gave me great tips for strengthening my voice so I can be more confident with speaking. I love that she included Reiki healing into the session as well as giving me practical exercises. I felt very safe and understood during I felt very safe and understood during the session. Bryony has a true, kind heart, full of compassion, and is a beautiful vessel of great healing. Thank you deeply for the amazing work you do, Bettina. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh,
Beautiful, beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful.
that's
So,
lovely. I feel so blessed to work with some amazing people. You know, it's really a great pleasure to share my work with the people I do work with, and I'm really excited to have so many exciting things coming up. You know, the different online courses, because I'm offering 2 5-week things. I'm doing the 5-week collaboration, and then I do a 5-week voice empowerment immersion, which is 5 weeks of Sunday sessions. And then I've got my retreat, you know, so I've got some beautiful spaces to gather together with people.
and where is the best place for people to find out all about that? Is it your website?
Well, the best place to find out about different offerings is the list on Facebook on my Heart Song Healing page. There is the information on the website too, but it's a bit more information heavy, and the kind of the cleanest way to get to the events is on the event page on my Heart Song Healing.
Okay, so I'll add that link to the Facebook page in the notes below, okay,
That'd
as
be
well as your
brilliant. Yeah,
website. Yeah, and if
thank
there's
you.
anything else, I'll add them in below. So anything else you want to add in about any of your events or anything people can expect? I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot pretty well. So if there is there anything else that you'd like to, or maybe actually a question did come up like, what's one of the most unexpected things maybe that people discover that maybe they're like, wow, wasn't expecting that. Is there
About
anything?
me or about my work or?
Yeah, maybe more about their own experience, more about,
Oh, nice.
yeah, what
Oh,
what.
you mean when they go through the practices and when
Yeah,
they go
yeah,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Something that really surprised them, or just that I wasn't expecting that. Those unexpected.
That's nice. That's a really nice question, because actually it does happen often, you know, that well, like one of the people on my testimonials, I can't remember, I think it's on the Facebook testimonial. Sarah, she spoke about for the first time being able to sing in front of someone else after doing the session with me. And so that was that was something she was very surprised about. She had never thought that she could do that, and she did that.
Mm.
And my client Jen, who didn't think she was going to be able to, she ended up being able to do really transformative public speaking, because the singing and the light language and the chanting is part of what I support people with, but I also do support people who want to become a better public speaker and use their voice in a convincing way through speaking.
Beautiful,
Yeah, so
beautiful.
the definitely the unusual things that people might find are unlimited, that because basically what is happening when we use our voice in this way is we're clearing the blocks, we are opening the channel, we are strengthening the vessel in the same way that we do when we do Reiki training. We all have healing ability that's like this, but when we do Reiki training, it opens to here, and in the same way, the voice practices, we might have a voice that has a range like this big, but when we start to work in a more conscious way with our voice, we open things up, we strengthen things, and we
And
make
that's
it
why,
more.
anybody, they may not believe, or they may not think they're a singer, but they have the capacity to open up those potentials
Yeah,
within them and to access more of their
absolutely.
voice.
Yeah, we all have, even me, I've been working with my voice, a long time, nearly 30 years. I I still get surprised with some of the sounds that I make and some of the places I can reach with my voice. And the other thing that we can get surprised about is the ultimate deep profound sense of peace that can come when we use our voice in this conscious way and reconnect with ourselves.
Yeah, I discovered mostly in the shower.
Beautiful.
I think that's mostly for a lot of people, and just playing around with my voice. But one of the things that came online more intuitively using the voice is harmonizing, like really recognizing that my body is an instrument, and that true, like, so I would raise my frequency through gratitude, and then once I'd get my, so if I was there in a real funk, I'd raise my frequency through gratitude, and then once I'd raise my frequency, that would tap me into my intuition or my channel, and then I would be guided then from a higher level, we'll say, or more connected level, guided how to retune the instrument, so to speak, as at a quantum level. And then I could, like, beyond anything I could fathom with my brain, of course, but I could feel, it's like I could feel, it's like what I'd say, it's like an orchestra, right? But some of the instruments are out of tune,
Out of
or like
tune.
even the organs of the body, different organs in
Yeah.
the body,
Oh,
they're like
yeah.
different instruments in the orchestra, or the cells. And so
Yeah.
through sounding, you literally can heal your body through the vibration
Absolutely.
and the
Yeah.
frequency, and to
Absolutely.
retone, reharmonize, so that the orchestra is working together and humming together
Yeah.
and creating beautiful music.
Yeah. But that's so true. I mean, some of the conscious practices that I teach work with different organs, like different consonants work, for example, with the liver or the heart. And yeah, what you say is so true. We are an orchestra of different vibrations. I work with tuning forks as well. You might probably,
Yeah,
can you
can just
see it?
about see them.
Yeah. So this is a tuning fork. I've got lots of tuning forks, and they work with different frequencies in the body.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to ask you to finish out with
With some
some
beautiful,
sounding,
yeah.
the instruments, your voice, whatever you feel, and any other message, or any, if you do light language, to bring through whatever you'd like to finish out with. Before I do that, I'd love to ask you, what is Divine Love Ambassador for you?
Presence,
Mm. And what is presence?
all possibility,
Mm.
all possibility, and like a enormous concentration of the highest light.
Beautiful, beautiful. Divine Love Ambassador, all possibility and highest concentration of light. Yeah.
So be it.
And so be it.
Om Tadyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranza Samukate. May everyone who hears this podcast, this sharing, receive healing and blessing. These are the energies of the Koshi chimes, sound healing. Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Yay.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your wonderful voice and sounds and wisdom today with us for the Divine Love Ambassador podcast. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Please leave a comment down below and check for the links to connect with the offerings that Bryony has on offer over the coming months in the show notes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.